Perfect. Okay, good afternoon, good morning, good evening. If you're in Africa or different parts of the world, welcome to February's King's Counsel and Trust Family Office Town Hall Gathering, where we come together to give you our monthly updates, introduce some of the new projects, learn how to get more involved in KCT, or even bring people here to let them know what we're up to and invite them to be a part of our growing community and family. If you're joining us for the first time, welcome. We have a fun agenda filled for you today. We're going to be learning about KCT's mission and vision. We're also going to be giving you some updates of what's happening within KCT. You get to meet some of our team and power partners, learn about some of our current initiatives. Here's some of the incredible projects that we're working on and how to get involved. Again, learn how to get involved in what we're doing. We do a breakout session at the very end, and this is an opportunity to meet individuals that are here today. We love building community. We feel that when we come together and we ask and we share maybe some desires that we have or what's in our heart, that together that we can help elevate each other and oftentimes be that resource for individuals that might be looking for something that they need in their business or in their life. And then we're going to open it up for a Q&A. And just before the Q&A, time permitting, we're really excited about the ICO wallet update that will be happening. So here's our mission and vision. I just want to be quiet for a moment because you can each read this yourself. So you'll just take a moment to read. So each time I read this, certain things stand out for me. One of the things is the piece of preparing, participating, partnering, and prospering together. How many of you want to prosper together? Okay, I've seen a few hands. And so I love the shared vision that we all have. Dale, who is the founder and the managing director of King's Counsel and Trust, has actually been tagged as the financial futurist. And I am so grateful for this opportunity to serve and be with King's Counsel and Trust, because I feel like, and as it says here, that he has really had the foresight of what's happening in the global system and the shift that's happening right now. Also, the other piece, having been a part of a lot of companies that are out there seeking funding and wanting to expand and go into global markets, he's been really instrumental in reinventing private equity as a function of cash flow. And you'll get to hear more about that as we go along with some of our initiatives that we're working with. So with that, this is a sign language round of applause. Can we give Dale a round of applause? Thank you, Dale, for being here. I'll turn it over to you.
As always, thank you, Ms. Shannon. I really appreciate what's going on in the world right now, because we've been busy. We have been in a long time. Going virtual back in 2010 for us, we caught a lot of flack for moving away from the bricks and mortar model, only to find out where everyone is reinventing themselves right now in some form or fashion, having a home office, getting set up, and still staying connected when it comes to capital, for example. What's your strategy to put butts in chairs when you can't travel and you can't put a lot of folks in rooms? How do you get in front of people? We've got an app for that, a few apps actually. We'll get into some of that. There's a really exciting new project we're going to share with you today that's going to be looking at just some of incorporating some of those things. But all that to say, we had a very successful end of last year in the recap with supporting the Commissioner of Financial Services, the Financial Regulation Office, in particular Florida. We've got a very exciting proposal we're doing some homework on to be able to follow the precedent of other states where they're adopting gold and silver as lawful money, proposing to shore up the balance sheet of both the governments, the treasuries themselves, and public and private pension funds, and bridge the gap from the traditional precious metal, hard, cold cash to that of the crypto world. And so enter the wallet discussion a little bit later on. Unfortunately, as of this morning, as much as I'd love to show you it in motion, just not there yet. But we do have kind of a landing page, so because we fully expect in the next month to be able to launch it and the mirror website for some of the older folks that may not be so savvy on their phones. But let us know when we get there. I'll show you kind of how that works. And without further ado, I'd just kind of like to kind of mention some of our team, for those that may not be too familiar, kind of our right hand and a great eagle eye in terms of editorial and great feedback are Thomas Richter, and also the Mr. Copyright that speaks from the heart, and David Dunsworth. We've got Larry Tyler on the line. We were just honoring him, some of the older on talent as a part, and some of the newer talent with Jeff Borglin, Rui across the pond, and Shannon, of course. There's a lot to cover today, and so if it's all right with you, I'd just as soon like to get to it if we could, because while we typically like to have just a kind of brief intro, this particular video in particular, I think is going to go about 5 minutes. And we're going to have a little bit of Q&A with the principals. They're on the line with us, with Robert Moore and Don House, and how they're reinventing boxing and amateur athletics, potentially really big stuff. Anybody that's paying attention to what's going on in NFTs today is, what Bitcoin did, decentralize crypto, I'll just say currency in the crypto space. We're really excited for this potential because we believe NFTs, among other applications, have the same potential as decentralizing and distributing personal property, as it were, intellectual property, royalties, and a number of other things. So with that, Ms. Shannon, unless I'm out of step, can we roll the video for Full Throttle Boxing?
Yes, just one moment. I want to make sure we can see this well. Can everybody see that okay? Yep, okay.
To being an owner of a professional sports promotion company? Until now, that opportunity has not been available, except to the ultra wealthy or the well-connected. How would you have liked to have been a part of a combat entertainment company that was originally bought for $2 million in 2001, and in 2017 sold for over $4 billion? Yes, billion with a B. That company, the UFC, the highest valued sports promotion in history. Now, here's your chance. Let's talk about boxing. Boxing has been on the decline for years, and it has not been giving the fans what they crave. Are you tired of mismatched fights, or the promoters that protect their fighters against better opposition, or fighters that only do enough not to lose? Under the table deals, corrupt managers, or fighters spending most of the fight dancing around? We have the solution to many of those issues. Who are we? We are Full Throttle Boxing. Full Throttle Boxing is the creation of Don House. Over the years, he became increasingly frustrated with how his sport of boxing has been mistreated in favor of the promoters and managers. So he created a solution. Don is known in the industry as a trainer, an engineer, a fighter, and a cut man. He molded the careers of many world champion boxers and MMA fighters. Been with the UFC since 2001. Redesigned and patented the current UFC Fight Club to improve the use, fit, and function, and is used exclusively by the UFC. Don boxed for the United States Army, 74 wins, 3 losses, and 40 KOs, destined for the 1984 Olympic team, until an unfortunate explosion occurred during a military training exercise, ending his promising boxing career. Full Throttle Boxing is a sports media entertainment company that combines reality TV, like American Idol and American Ninja Warrior, with single elimination tournaments, like college basketball's March Madness. Full Throttle Boxing brings combat sports fans the excitement they love, in a way they love to view it, full throttle. Each season starts with 4 different weight classes, with 16 fighters in each class. There will be 8 single elimination tournaments in 8 different regions in the United States, with the season finale ending in Las Vegas. We will introduce other countries in later seasons. There are 2 seasons per year. The fights will be streamed live on the Full Throttle Boxing website and app, similar to Netflix, Hulu, and Amazon. Fighters and fights are chosen by the fans based on their abilities, background stories, and overall appeal through the Full Throttle Boxing website. Each of the 8 regional events consists of 7 3-round, 3-minute single elimination fights. 8 fighters will be chosen and paired off by the fans at the weigh-in, a day before the fight, and placed in a tournament-style bracket to begin the competition. After the first 6 fights, we will take a 30-minute intermission to allow the last finalist to rest. During that time, we will recap the show, market upcoming full-throttle boxing events, have a ring girl contest, and a live performance by a popular up-and-coming band. The first 4 season finalists will be determined in the first half of the season, and the second 4 season finalists will be determined in the second half of the season. Fighters earn their purses based on their performance per round to ensure constant action, excitement, and entertainment. The first 4 fights of the tournament are worth $15,000 per fight, $5,000 per round. The winner of each round earns $4,000, the loser $1,000. The winners of the quarterfinals advance to the semifinals, which is worth $30,000 per fight, $10,000 per round. The winner of each round earns $8,000, the loser $2,000. The winners of the semifinals advance to the finals, which is worth $60,000 per fight, $20,000 per round. The winner of each round earns $16,000, the loser $4,000. The winners of the finals advance to the season finale in Las Vegas. When a fighter stops his opponent by KO or TKO in any round, he will earn an additional $5,000 bonus and will also earn 100% of the remaining round's purse. In addition, whenever there is a knockout, a $25,000 bonus goes to the knockout bonus pool, which continues to grow from tournament to tournament until a fighter knocks out 3 opponents in one night. The season finale will be 4 10-round championship bouts. Each bout is worth $1 million at $100,000 per round. The winner of each round will earn $80,000, the loser $20,000. In the event of a knockout, a fighter will earn 100% of the remaining round's purse. The 4 finale winners in each weight division will be crowned the Full Throttle Boxing champions. Full Throttle Boxing will prove to be more action, more excitement, and more entertaining. Come join us and help make Full Throttle Boxing the next billion-dollar sports media entertainment company.
Thank you, Shannon. Well, it begs the question. I don't know if anybody's seen anything like that before. I got it. Robert or Don, do either of you care to let folks know if they want to learn more about what's going on? There's clearly an early stage investment opportunity, I know. But as we've discussed, there's also sponsorship, pre-sales, tickets, merchandise, and so many other things with which to create a hybrid approach. One or both of you care to respond to that? And how can they learn more or get in touch with you guys?
Don, can you give a brief recap of why and how you came up with the concept for Full Throttle? Because you're the brainchild behind it, and your mic is muted, by the way. Don, I see you.
How's that?
There you go. You're live again.
Yeah. Good. Yeah, I was muted. Technology. I'm not caught up in that. I'm in the fight business. Well, over the years, I've been in this game since 1972, and I've watched how boxing has declined. I watched how promoters protect their fighters. I watched how the fighters get scammed. And boxing really never had any competition until the UFC showed up. And they've been trying to clean their act up, but they're sort of way behind. So there's a group of fighters that no one pays attention to. Sure, everyone wants the guys to come out to the Olympics, and everyone talks about the A fighters. But there's a middle group, that tier, I call it the B group, no one thinks about. The UFC started their whole career off B fighters. Actually, to me, all the UFC fighters are B fighters, but they just know how to promote them. I figure we can promote these guys the same way I've learned how the UFC's done their job, being over there 20 years. This would be very simple to do. It's best if you guys ask some questions. Me, I'm very good at answering the question. I mean, I've been in the boxing since 72. I've had probably about 15 to 20 boxing world champions, 3 or 4 MMA champions. Like I said, I've been with the UFC over 20 years. Watch how they've done their program, and most of it's marketing. Boxing do not market their fighters. The unfortunate part, at least the guys that's coming up, because there's so many different promoters. No one's put time and energy in them guys that's coming up until they become 20 and 25 and 0. But you done lost all of that all of that fighters growing up, lost my term. Anyway, if you have any questions, let me know. I'm here if you answer.
Thank you, Don. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Jill, care to introduce Mr. Moore?
Yes, Larry had a quick question. Larry Tyler.
I can wait. Go ahead and introduce the others and let them talk. I do have a question for later.
Okay. Well, we
All
wanna-
right.
okay. So Robert Moore, I just want to do a quick introduction because I met him a number of years ago, and he's very humble. He actually had a company that as many companies, when you're growing, sometimes you go to growing pains or you get to a barrier. And Robert, if I say anything incorrect, you can clean it up afterwards. But I know that people were telling him, you need to just close the company, you need to quit, and he didn't quit. And he actually went out and raised a ton of money. He then took the company public and sold it to Nextel for, I think it was like 213 million. So
I wish it was that much. It was 160 million.
or 160 million, let me get that correct. But what I've had the opportunity to work with Robert, and what I love about Robert is his, when he gets something in his mind, and he's got very high integrity, but he knows every aspect of business. He looks at all the touch points of how is this going to impact other people? What are we doing to give back to the community? Like he has the brilliant brain. Obviously, to take a company public is pretty massive, but he also has the wherewithal to really look at things holistically and what we're doing. And he has a heart of gold. Over the years, I've went to him on a number of initiatives and things, and he always just showed up and gave his heart and really poured into whatever he could to help people be successful. So
I don't need to say anything else then. When I was introduced to Don, I knew nothing about professional boxing. I knew nothing about the streaming market, what the OTT market that Amazon and Netflix and what they do is they call over the top. It's because you're transmitting the show over the top of the regular cable or broadcast means. So the OTT mechanism is nothing secret. It's just that we're bypassing that network requirement that used to exist to be able to be successful in the boxing industry. What I also liked is I got bored with boxing when I was a kid. I watched it. My grandfather was a Golden Gloves champion in Denver when I grew up, and I understood it, but it was boring because it didn't seem like the best were ever fighting the best. There was very few fights that after the fight you go, oh my gosh, that was fun. What's interesting that the UFC did is you're not eliminated for losing. In traditional boxing, it's one of the strangest sports where as soon as you lose a big fight, you're a bum. Don told me a story. He was training a guy who won the World Heavyweight Championship. And Don, I think this is right. His purse was $1 million to defend that title. Is that right?
Yeah.
And then he lost that fight. The next fight that he secured, they paid him $50,000 because he lost. He was a world heavyweight champion, lost one fight, and his payday went from $1 million to $50,000. So what that has done is created a whole sport of people who try to not lose instead of trying to win. Because if you go out there full throttle, so to speak, and try to win and you don't win, in traditional boxing, you're a bum, you're out, you're done. And Don's idea was to change that dynamic and reward people for how they performed and not punish them that if they gave 100% and still lost. So he created the whole idea of being paid their purse on a round by round basis with the incentive to basically knock the other guy out as soon as you can because you earn more money. And the purse structure that we came up with is a multitude number of times higher than what these, as Don called them, B fighters are getting today. To be able to fight for $5,000 a round, these guys don't see that kind of money. A lot of times I'll pay them a few $100s to a couple $1,000s to fight for an 8-round fight. If they make it through all 3 fights in the tournament, you've got over $100,000 of purses that they can participate in. That's a complete different set of goals and reward that they can't get today. So the best example I can have, and I'll shut up after this, is what we're doing is taking the model of American Idol, where American Idol took a bunch of people who just were good musicians. Excuse me. They were good musicians, but they weren't known. And through marketing and social media and the broadcast, they built them up so that you hoped somebody would win. Why you rooted for one particular singer or not, it wasn't because it was Elton John or Mariah Carey. It was because you liked the person. You developed a like for them. We're doing the same thing with the sport of boxing. We're bringing back the story and the people and the drama and the excitement. This translates into all kinds of other areas, but our focus for the first couple of years at least is going to be the sport of boxing and using the formula that you saw in that video. So anything else that you'd like to ask? Be glad to answer.
Well, thank you, Robert. I appreciate that. I think that you just hit a couple of things right on the head where we got involved. And normally when you would think, okay, we tend to be more of a faith-based driven service company for, I'll just say, entrepreneurs that have strong moral ethical values beyond the financial bottom line. We too saw the opportunity to expand into other areas where amateur athletics are otherwise being exploited. They never have a chance, as it were. I think it's interesting. A talent, for example, like a Tony Romo that used to play for the Dallas Cowboys, he's making more as an announcer now than he did as a quarterback. And because he's got an interesting story and he can read the defense perhaps faster than any quarterback on the field, it makes for a very interesting commentary, as it were. And I'm so looking forward to seeing how this develops. As I understand it, there is basically a one full season pilot, and there's about $5 million in terms of putting all of those different stages and parts and pieces together with lots of opportunities to get involved. Stay tuned, because we'll have some more details back to you on that. It's not just traditional capital development of old school. This is looking at things very much from a cash flow opportunity, as I mentioned earlier, in ticket sales, sponsorships, preferred memberships, merchandise, and on and on and on. So with that, Larry, I recall you had a question. Did you care to ask before we move on?
Yeah, you sort of answered it, but the question that immediately came to me, Don and or Robert, is where does the prize money come from? How have y'all been able to, or will you be able to obtain that? Is that something that Dale, your capital acquisition type situation, or how's that working?
The $5 billion that Dale mentioned is what we need to get through the first season. And that 5 million is incorporated in all of the purses and all that. It costs us about $240,000 all in for everything to do an event. We break even at about 25,000 people worldwide, paying $14.95 to watch a 3-hour presentation.
Wow.
So it's relatively inexpensive for the fan. What's exciting, and I was talking to Shannon about this yesterday, is once we pass the threshold of covering our event expenses, adding incremental people watching is about $1 per person for us to cover the bandwidth and the credit card charge. That's all the incremental expense is. So once we are covering our total event expense, if we have 30,000 people instead of 25,000 people, those extra 5,000 people, I should know this number off the top of my head, is an additional $74,750.
Ooh, good business plan, good business model.
So then we don't have any, it's really odd, we don't have any cost of goods, so to speak.
Yeah.
It's almost all of that $75,000 will drop to the bottom line once we cover the expense of the event.
Yeah, that's cool. One thing, just a quick comment that you made, the name Full Throttle, trying not to lose. And that could be some of businesses throughout the country need to apply that. I see it constantly where they are reducing their economic engine, so not to have to pay taxes. So they cut back on the income or what they're doing for income. But I love the name Full Throttle, and I think we all ought to be going full throttle in our businesses and support. I know that Dale and Thomas and Shannon are doing that, but great point of view, Robert. Thank you for that, and Don.
And one of our plans going forward too is to use the same model for a lot of these kids who end up in juvenile hall and places like that, to help teach them a skill. Not that they have to become professional fighters, but young people need something to hang their hat on. If they got a bunch of troubled kids, we want to take this to that community as well. It won't be a day one venture, but we're definitely planning on doing that as well.
You gotta love that. I mean, that takes big brothers, big sisters to a whole new level.
Correct.
Yeah.
And
Anyway,
the growth opportunities that are here, if I start going into all of those, you're going to go, how in the world are you guys going to do all that stuff? Our focus for the first season or first couple of seasons is just to do what we just talked about. Get 25,000, a minimum of 25,000 people watching the event, and build the name of what Full Throttle is. Boxing has never had a brand. If you think about it, there are big fighters. There's names that everybody knows. There's Muhammad Ali and there's Mike Tyson and things like that, but there's no brand. UFC is a brand. That they're in the MMA space, but they are a brand. You know exactly what you're seeing when you go watch a UFC event. No one's done that with boxing. There is no definition of what goes on. It's just you stick two guys in a ring and hope they put on a good show.
so thank you for that, Robert.
Okay.
I want to, for anyone that's going to come back to the recording, I want to leave a few questions. Who do you know that's in social media, a YouTuber, an Instagrammer, or what have you, that's, as they say, is an influencer? Just a thought. Somebody like that, you could pre-sell the tickets in any one of these things and not ever go down the sponsorship, but there's and. There tends to be, again, the Becky's and the Rydell's and beer and Budweiser of all different forms. And,
Right.
What's going on? Who do we know, guys, that we'd like to be able to have as a business expense a rebate come back? Because as we just heard from Robert, there's a lot of cash to go around in a shared expense, shared reward model.
Correct.
I'll just leave that to you. Anyone that might be considering, I don't like boxing, but I might know somebody, as it were, to come back to, get in touch with us, and we'll get you some more details offline. And this is exciting. Hold on. So, who's up next? We just heard last night that one of three states just got approved by the state. There's no great customer servicing, it seems, since the pandemic's come down, but neither does it May. We finally got the green light to be able to kind of bring an alternative mortgage solution to Florida, and heading that up on behalf of the King's Counsel interests and another broker up in the Jacksonville area is David Dunworth. And this is a little bit about what we have going on, and perhaps you can come kick the tires and learn how to better your situation, as it were. David, do you care to take a few minutes and cover a few points?
Sure. It's been a long time coming. We started this concept of opening Florida about 15 or 16 months ago, and it has taken all of that time to get all the bugs fixed out of what I'll call the behind the scenes governmental qualifying process. And last night I found out at about 9:30 that our license was finally approved. And with great things comes great responsibility. Now that we have a license, it's generating business. And what we plan to do is empower people through our process to not only acquire a mortgage, but also teach them how to pay it off in minimum time. We use a combination of what we call the infinite banking concept. There's about a half a dozen strategies that, depending on your particular personal situation, we can accelerate the payoff and minimize the amortization, the amortized interest on that by paying it with simple interest instead. It's not as easy as it sounds. It's not that difficult either once you learn. And that's what we do, is we're looking not to just sell mortgages, but to find business partners. And through our process of education and saving them money, finding money for them, finding the answers that they have been looking for, all in one place. And so we're really excited about it, because as we grow the business here in Florida, we're also looking to expand into other states. We're in California, Georgia, Florida. We're looking, trying to get processed in Arizona and a couple other states. So it's, at this particular point in time, we are looking to originate the loans. We're looking to work with realtors, but down the road, as soon as we get a few more questions answered, there will be a rewards program for those who have people that they know, family members, friends, and so forth, can receive a tell a friend royalty. Will be able to. So that's just for dropping a name. And, you know, when the process goes through, ta-da, at the end, there's a reward. So we're looking forward to ironing this thing out and going to work. In fact, we're working today. So it's exciting, but much more to come.
Thank you, David. As I understand it, we put the proposal together not to be just another mortgage company. I think what is interesting is, for our approach is, well, the quick and loans, they have more of the online types of things like that. We simply wanted to give back. You know, the incidence of homelessness in this country is atrocious. We live supposedly in one of the best countries in the world. And why do we have that? Predominantly women and children on any given night in America. I'd like to think that we could do something about that, because what ICOVEST is going to do in the counties where the loans are written, whether you're upsizing, downsizing, refinancing, is, just a second, I got an echo. How's that? Good. Okay.
Little echo.
Yes, we simply want to give back. I'm not saying we have a not-for-profit model. We just have a low-profit model, because the primary objective is to pull together as community and help people, and not export the profits back to some bank in another state, in another jurisdiction, this case may be. Now, David, is it true that somebody, at no cost to them, can get a free financial analysis in this, whether they do anything or not with ICOVEST?
Yeah, we have a process, a clearinghouse, if you will. If a party is interested in learning more, we invite them to a 30-minute presentation that tells you who we are, what we do, and what our goals are. If you have an interest, we offer a variety of things. We offer a free capital needs analysis, is what we call it. We take you through your income and your expenses, and then we come up with 3 strategies on how you can improve your financial situation that you can do yourself. One of those, you know, if you have a mortgage, we can show you what it will take to pay off the remainder of your mortgage in a very short period of time. Most recently, we had a gal who had 8 years left on her mortgage, on a 30-year mortgage. She paid it off in a year and a half. Saved her tons of money. But that capital needs analysis is free. You can use that information any way you want. We also invite you to take a free look at our, what we call our the ICOVEST Academy. Get a free 7-day trial to dig through there.
Join the meeting.
See what the values of that bring, and also to kick the tires, if you will, to see if what we are makes sense to you. So it's a great opportunity to get your house in order for free. There's no obligation of any kind. You get to learn a little bit more about how Main Street can benefit from the Wall Street and the elites, insiders, toolboxes that you've never been allowed to look in. So it's one of the best educations and awareness models that I've ever seen in my life. I'm really a proponent of it.
Fantastic, David. Well, no question that with home equity modifications and other types of creative programs, what is most appropriate for those 65 in their homes, primary residence, number of years, and I might add, in a rising interest rate environment, instead of paying into in the traditional role of, as it were, paying down your mortgage. Wow, that payment actually comes back to you now, and that goes up. So I would say stay tuned. We've got a lot more to share on some of the programs more specifically in the months ahead. So what I would like to do is invite Thomas, because we had a really good session in the last couple of weeks talking about our power partners, because we've just had so many more new affiliations and new features and benefits to be able to come on and help you all, equip you with better tools and resources perhaps than we've had in recent years. Thomas, would you mind spending a few minutes just at a high level about that? And if somebody's interested in learning more, where they can go, please. Thank you.
Sure. Thank you, Dale. First of all, thank you, Robert and Don, for giving your introductory, and David for the updates on ICOVEST market. I'm going to be very brief on the power partner. The cooperative marketing agreement, that is essentially the power partner agreement. That's been redefined this year. That was essentially done because of our partner in Johannesburg, South Africa. Rui was challenging us to say, how can we be better? How can we demonstrate how we can help people multiply what it is they're currently doing with what it is they have in their hand? So essentially, we've done that on both the ABC agreement and our power partner agreement, quote unquote, our cooperative marketing agreement. The good news is that we had a very positive conversation last week. Everyone who's on that call should have received a copy of the message. And if you were in our distribution email and you weren't at that meeting, please review it, because there's a lot of good information on it. And I don't, there's not enough time to review the entirety of that hour. I can tell you that Dale has sent out updates on the cooperative marketing covenant agreements, outlining the 3 available options. A, B, and C is what they are. I believe I just learned from him today that about 20% of those CMCs have been e-signed and returned. So there's that just means that there's 80% of our cooperative marketing agreements out there. There might be some questions that still need to be addressed. And while we don't want to take the time today to address those questions, please reach out to me directly at helpdesk@King's Counsel and Trust. I'm going to put it in the chat window, and you can capture that before we end our meeting today. But please reach out to me at that, or I'll also include my direct phone number, and I'll be happy to address questions regarding that as well. But there's an awful lot to that cooperative marketing agreement, that power partner agreement. You're going to read it, and if you don't have questions, I'm going to suggest to you really haven't read it. You can't read that document and come away saying, oh, I understand and I comprehend it all, because frankly, there's just too much material in there. So in an effort to be as transparent as possible, we want to give you as much information as we can to provoke you to say, I like it, it feels right, but I need clarification, and I'm happy to help clarify that. So I'll leave it at that. Thanks, Dale.
Thank you, my friend. Shannon, you are the production specialist when it comes to this breakout sessions and the like. Would you mind explaining how this works for us, please?
Yes, I would be honored to. So now is where the magic, well, it's all magical, but I love the opportunity to get in a breakout room and meet your neighbor and love on your neighbor. And so when you get there, you will need a timekeeper. We like to do a couple minutes each, and I wouldn't use that whole 2 minutes pitching people, ideally just sharing who you are and what you're up to. This is a great opportunity to make that ask, make the request. It's amazing what we ask for, we can receive, and it may not be right here in this group, but it might be, for example, you may meet Clifford and share something with Clifford. If you don't know Clifford, please put your stuff in the chat, because you're up to some big stuff in the world. He may get off the phone and have a meeting after this, and it might be that next connection. So we invite you to really be clear in what that is and how we can support you. Also, when we get into the breakout room, we want to make sure that the timer, if you do it for 2 minutes, that we stop on time so that last person gets a chance to share, and also put your contact information in the chat. So what happens in the chat room stays in the chat room. It's kind of like Vegas. So we want to make sure that if there's things that you want everybody to know about, we really encourage, please sharing who you are, what you're up to. Definitely keep Thomas's information there, and we'll show you at the end how to save that. But know that what's there does not go to everybody. It only stays in the chat. Anything else, Dale or Thomas, that I needed to include?
Let's jump in the sandbox.
Yeah, and the biggest thing is it's just a time to it's like a teaser, and if I have a lead for Clifford, I may say, hey, Clifford, I need to connect you with Sally about the water project, right? And I'm just doing a name drop, and Clifford's just got to write down the name so that we can connect afterwards. So with that, we have 4 breakout rooms with 3 in each room. It's going to be 2 minutes each. There will be a timer that will come up. Once the timer is done, it will actually give 60 seconds left. So I'm setting it for 6 minutes. So you'll have 2 minutes each, and then there'll be a 60-second thing, and it'll automatically pull everybody in. So with that, here we go.
Hi, Shannon.
Hi, David. All right, so Debbie is in a room by herself. So let me move Debbie into room 2, I think. Oh, Robert Moore is in another room. So let me move Robert into room.
He was here, but then he disappeared.
Okay, let me move Robert into room 1. Okay. All right, you're just hanging out with me. Let me pause this. Capital Group. Thank you. Or the Power Partner and CMC membership. I am going to share real quick the Media Magic and our Love Your Neighbor. And we are super excited for Dale to do an update and open it up for Q&A. And we encourage you to keep, please connect in the chat. If you got cut off early, hopefully everybody got a chance to speak. Know that to put in the chat your contact information. So we've been doing this since just before COVID happened. This is your Love Your Neighbor event that we've had people show up, and because of the treasure chest of resources that had been created from Dale and a lot of KCT, people have showed up and go, oh my gosh, this is worth $5,000. Why are you guys giving this stuff away for free? It's really a magical community. We get into some geopolitics, we get into health, we get into business and finance, and so we would love to have you join our community. We also, here are our upcoming events for KCT. Our next town hall gathering is going to be March the 8th. We're meeting the second Tuesday of every month. And one of the greatest gifts that you can do for KCT is invite a friend. Share this community with them. Let them know what we're up to. Our next Power Partner event is on the 22nd, and we do have a prerequisite that they come to the town hall meeting. So ideally, if you want to connect people with what we're up to, please use the town hall meeting. Everybody here is invited to the Power Partner event, and that's really a great time to dive a little bit deeper in what we're up to and kind of behind the curtain. And then the CMC is a collaborative marketing covenant, and we put GSD for get stuff done. Some people use another word instead of stuff. This is where we get to really look at the project management tools, and this is where people come in and get to work on some of what we're up to. Dale, did you want to add anything on these events that we're up to? You're muted.
Wanted to apologize because going into the weekend, we had every intention of sending out the really great Power Partners overview and recordings and the like. Come to find out, it didn't go out. So a lot of people received the DocuSign saying, "What's this? What is? I don't understand." So that said, we're working on that. It's just a reiteration of some of what we've already covered. But what I'm trying to say is this. We're going to be creating some very specific boards where we're going to start a composium of everyone that's a partner, and those partners that opt in for the shared expense, shared reward are all going to get a little bit of their own office, and with which in our cloud we'll be able to share and collaborate and get your own house in order. Some of what Shannon spoke to in terms of the love your neighbor content. But where we can have a board of who the project principals are of all the initiatives that we have going on, contact information. We don't want to be the eye of the needle. If you've got a good idea, you've got somebody for Robert that says, "Hey, I've got a perfect sponsor for you," or "I've got a perfect influencer for you," or whatever, fill in the blank. Somebody wants to bring you on board to write their business plans, or Michael, somebody wants to have a part-time CFO, as the case may be. We want to be able to make connections pretty quickly and get out of the way. So with that, now that we've got kind of everybody on the same page in terms of, as it were, terms and conditions, features, benefits, we'll be looking into that and how to best onboard new introductions. My last update, we've got about 5 minutes left. I'm just going to put in here, this is a simple little landing page for what we now have as Secure Vault. This is right now the complement to our Secure Vault wallet. What started out as a what we'll call an ICO wallet, as the case may be. And what we're basically suggesting to you is, nowhere else will you be able to have a sovereign silver or gold coin on your phone, as it were, not to mention all your other popular cryptos and banking and credit and other types of affinity types programs. All I'd like you to do today is just be aware this is coming like a freight train. And I'd like you all to be on the front edge of sharing some good news. Please just drop your name, your email in here. Again, don't want to wait until next month for some good news to share and who to share it with, and how to put an app on your phone and begin to using it. Why that's so important. If you go back to some of what we first started about all of the features and benefits on this is enormous. This has more of a small business and reaching the unbanked, in particular those in the cannabis industry, where the banks have said, no, we're not allowing your type of business to work with us. They have a very strong cash position. Now you got an app for that. Just saying. So this works anywhere worldwide, assuming, of course, you can turn on your phone and keep it charged. So more on that later. Just please, for the sake of staying in tune with what's coming on, the train's left the station and we'll be online here pretty shortly. And Larry, you're kind of laughing. What's going on? Do I look funny?
Oh no, just some of the things you're saying, which is right on. I love something about that you were just, as Shannon was flipping through it, this isn't something about coin and koinonia, Koin versus COIN. And I think it's great. I know you've worked extremely hard on this for months, so be nice to come to an end.
Yeah, almost a new beginning in a certain sense. And we are very excited about that because when folks are still coming, yeah, we understand the precious metals manipulation and all of what's going on in that space, but that shouldn't be the reason why we come play here. There's plenty of other opportunities to make a good, wage and make some profit somewhere else. So this is more about prosperity than it is profit. Because in cash flow, accounting, for example, there is no profit. The world wants to look at balance sheet and profit and loss, but not very few, including the church. I'm talking the book of Acts now. If you had to live that in the modern day, what does that look like? Where all things are in common, as it were. And this is hopefully our next version of connecting the digital economy with the physical economy, and particularly, Michael, in your case, where you talk about reaching the unbanked and grossly underserved industries where central banks have, through discrimination or some other corporate agenda, just cut people off. Got an app for that. So any questions, anyone, based on what you heard today? What's going on? Who's involved? The floor is open.
Dale, if I may, Robert Moore and Michael, I will reach out to you guys and set up some time to have a one-on-one with you both. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rudy.
Guys, it sounds like the icovestcapital.com is a place that you're sort of routing people that have deals to be looked at about potentially working with the KCT Covest model. Is that pretty accurate?
It's mostly on the mortgage side, David, because there's another series of iCovest initiative, be it life, be it real estate, and so on and so forth. This one in particular that David spoke of earlier is just one of our many where we've shared our seed far and wide. And we, everything that you're going to read in it, even from making up our own words like co-vest, cooperative vesting, where we mash together and create something new. A lot of our DNA you'll see in there, but all of these have been created to uniquely stand alone with their own identity, unlike the corporate structure of, the whoever creates it still has owner and control over that which it's created. Parents, children, corporations, etc.
So I just put the link in the chat if you want to learn more about some of the projects and that instrument that he's referring to, that kctfo.com/icovest. I'm sorry, is it Covest? I did it wrong. Covestors. But let me put in the correct one. And on there is a form that you can fill out and share your interest. Also, if you're interested in the Power Partners or the Cooperative Marketing Covenant, all of that is there. So let me get that for you really quick. Back to you, Dale.
Well,
Thank you.
and also for those Power Partners that opted in for options B and C, please don't forget Shannon has a pretty big program that she's pulling off on in April, I believe it is, where we've covered the general admission. We invite you to come upgrade your bio, as the case may be. If you haven't done that in the last 2 years, why not? Lots changed. So anyway, it's just the tip of the iceberg in terms of how you can play and participate with some of the others in some of her community. Yeah, something, Shannon?
Yeah, just you said that you're covering it. I don't think you're covering it for everybody on the call. I think it's if they're a CMC. Is that correct?
Yes, options B and C. It's not the full coverage, as it were. It's just the general admission portion, I believe it is.
But that's a live event though, isn't it?
It's a live virtual event, but we have a media panel coming. And this is just so you know where you're working. It's not a lecture and learn. We get into breakout rooms. You get to meet with experts to review your website, help you with your pitch. And when you leave there, our goal is to have you have those key components of your press kit put together. People that sign up today, they get their homework today to get started. You don't have to have it to get started. You can show up that day of, but really the magic is in what you do now.
You gonna put me up, Dale, if I come down there?
I'll even cook for you.
Oh, that's enough inducement there. Because what's the guy out of Louisiana has nothing on you. I can't think of his name. He's got all those shows.
You get a blanket and an umbrella in a 8 square feet on the beach, Larry.
It's a good beach.
There it is back behind David.
I think the really big picture, it's worth sharing for anyone that's going to come back and listen in on this, is Shannon in getting the word out has perfected getting in front of hundreds and hundreds of people that are picking up, I'll just say, good news. It's got to be written in a certain way. It's rarely a one-off. And I would suggest to anyone that's got a business or a new product line, a merchandise, whatever the case may be, how are you getting the word out? And I think a good, solid press release strategy is key to helping folks share, as it were. But there's a specific recipe for that. And I don't know to what extent Shannon, others will pick up on that, but they'll at least be exposed to the basics and understand.
Yeah, and if you just don't want to do it yourself and you want somebody to do it for you, we have a money back guaranteed. We'll get you in Market Watch, ABC, Fox, AP News. So it's pretty exciting.
Okay. Anyone else? Going once, twice? Is that Debbie I hear?
We had a question, I thought. Maybe not.
Okay, so with that, to be able to save the chat, where you type on the right-hand side is 3 dots. And if you click on those 3 dots, you want to go ahead and it'll show up. And I'm like, I didn't put any of my information in here. Then you hit save chat, and it will actually save it in a folder on your either desktop or under your documents. You just type in Zoom and it'll actually pull this up. And then that way you have all of your personal chats that you were doing and any of the chats that are here in the public forum. Any other questions before we say farewell? No. Okay, with that, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you all, everybody here. I love this community. Thank you, Robert and Dawn, for sharing your stuff, and all of our incredible leaders that really have this vision of together we are stronger. So thank you, Dale. Any final words?
Indeed. No, God bless you all, and we'll see you shortly. Bye for now.
So long, guys. Thanks for your time.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye for now.
Clifford, before you hang up, hold on, let me stop this.